In-person interviews with teams have yet to even begin for the vast majority of the leading NFL coaching candidates, but that didn't mean Saturday didn't bring news, most of it good, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers were scheduled to continue virtual interviews over the weekend, but what happened among some of the other 8 vacant coaching jobs continued to have an effect on the Steelers' plans. The recently fired coaches of the Steelers' 2 biggest AFC North rivals secured new head coaching jobs, in the process eliminating 2 teams worth competition for the Steelers as they zero in on their candidates. First, former Baltimore Ravens coach John Harbaugh was hired by the New York Giants. Be it because of Harbaugh's age, 63, that he was employed for the past 18 years by the Steelers' biggest rival or some other reason, Harbaugh was not among the 8 known interview requests the Steelers put in for candidates over the first 4 days following the resignation of Mike Tomlin. Kevin Stefanski, likewise, was almost certainly never going to be on the Steelers' radar. The 2-time NFL Coach of the Year, who led the Cleveland Browns from 2020 to 25, Stefanski was hired by the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons had requested interviews with at least 4 of the same candidates the Steelers had their eyes on: Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero, Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter, and Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. Hafley, according to the NFL Network, has emerged as a frontrunner and is the leading candidate to be the Dolphins' hire. Hafley had a virtual interview scheduled with the Steelers for Friday, but it was apparently pushed back a day. The reason could be that Hafley is closing in on joining the Dolphins, but it was not immediately clear if Hafley interviewed with the Steelers on Saturday. The Dolphins had previously done virtual interviews with Steelers targets Minter and Shula. The Steelers reportedly conducted virtual interviews Friday with 2 members of the Los Angeles Rams coaching staff, passing game coordinator Nate Scheelhaase and defensive coordinator Chris Shula. The Steelers were to meet virtually with Minter on Saturday and have also requested interviews with San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator Clay Kubiak and Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores. The Ravens over the past 24 hours confirmed virtual interviews with Scheelhaase, Shula, and Minter. Unlike most teams, the Steelers do not release on social media after they conduct a virtual interview. The team is expected to publicize its in-person interviews. In-person interviews for teams with any individual currently employed by an NFL team are prohibited until Monday. In that sense, Harbaugh and Stefanski, because they had been fired by their former teams, had a possible advantage to get a jump on the field of candidates. The Steelers also could be affected by if the Rams and/or 49ers win their NFC divisional round playoff games this weekend. Coaches on the staffs of teams alive for Conference Championship weekend remain unable to meet in person for head coaching interviews. One coach who will soon be participating in a championship game termed himself not an NFL guy on Saturday. Indiana coach Curt Cignetti, who was born in Pittsburgh, said during a news conference in Miami that 26 years ago he was offered the chance to join the Green Bay Packers, but instead took a job at NC State. "That's when I made the final decision," Cignetti said, "that I've always been more of a college football guy." Cignetti was born in Pittsburgh as the son of longtime IUP coach Frank Cignetti Sr. In 2 seasons at Indiana. He has turned the Hoosiers from bottom dweller into playing for the national title Monday night against Miami. There was no reason to believe the Steelers were giving Cignetti any consideration for their head coach job. Mike Tomlin ironically turned to veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers for his final season as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. With the Green Bay Packers, Rodgers defeated Tomlin and the Steelers in their last Super Bowl appearance. Interestingly, the Packers head coach in that contest was Pittsburgh native Mike McCarthy. In another ironic twist of fate, the Steelers are expressing interest in McCarthy now replacing Tomlin as their head coach. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported Sunday the Steelers are expected to speak with McCarthy on their head coach vacancy. McCarthy is from Pittsburgh and worked with Steelers GM Omar Khan in New Orleans in 2000, wrote Schefter on X. McCarthy posted a 174-112-2 record in 18 seasons as head coach of the Packers and Dallas Cowboys. Over nearly 13 campaigns in Green Bay, McCarthy led the Packers to 8 10-win seasons. In Dallas, McCarthy registered 3 12-5 seasons in 5 years. Steelers to interview Mike McCarthy, report. The McCarthy interview will not shock fans closely following the Steelers' head coaching search. If the Steelers hire McCarthy, that could be a different story. But his resume and ties to Pittsburgh make him an obvious interview candidate. Should he land a third head coaching gig, McCarthy wouldn't come without his faults. But he's only 19 wins shy of Tomlin on the regular season wins list. At 11-11 in the playoffs, McCarthy also owns a better postseason record than Tomlin, 8-12. It's worth wondering what will happen with Rodgers if the Steelers hire McCarthy. The two worked together for all 13 of McCarthy's seasons in Green Bay, but there was speculation that the two didn't have a great relationship. However, Steelers team president Art Rooney too strongly implied Wednesday that Rodgers wouldn't be back in 2026 because of Tomlin's departure. McCarthy didn't coach anywhere during the 2025 season. He led the Cowboys to a 7-10 record in 2024. Former Browns HC Kevin Stefanski lands with Atlanta Falcons. In addition to the McCarthy news, the Steelers received a positive update on the coaching front Saturday night/Sunday morning. The Atlanta Falcons announced they hired former Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. This is good news for the Steelers because Stefanski wasn't one of their candidates. With the Steelers not showing interest in Stefanski, the Falcons hiring him could aid their process when it comes to the availability of the coaches that the Steelers have identified as targets, wrote Steelers Now's Alan Saunders. The Steelers are playing catch-up as the only one of the 9 NFL teams this offseason with a head coaching vacancy that made the postseason. Most of the other teams have already completed most of their first round of interviews, with the Steelers just beginning theirs on Friday, so the Steelers will have to deal with other teams' hirings impacting their process. Including the Steelers, there are 7 NFL head coach openings remaining. Former AFC North head coaches Stefanski and John Harbaugh have landed new opportunities with the Falcons and New York Giants, respectively. The Steelers could have competition for McCarthy if they seriously pursue him. Sports Illustrated's Madison Williams reported Thursday the Tennessee Titans planned to interview the former head coach. The Pittsburgh Steelers have hit the ground running in their head coaching search, requesting interviews with over half a dozen candidates in the first 5 days of their search. Per Adam Schefter, they are expected to add yet another name to that list in the form of former Green Bay Packers and Dallas Cowboys head coach and Pittsburgh native Mike McCarthy. The Steelers are expected to speak with former Cowboys HC Mike McCarthy about their head coach vacancy, Adam Schefter reports. McCarthy is from Pittsburgh and worked with Steelers GM Omar Khan in New Orleans in 2000. McCarthy was the Cowboys head coach from 2020 to 24, leading the Cowboys to 3 consecutive 12-win seasons from 2021 to 23. His contract expired after the 2024 season, which led to the Cowboys moving on and promoting Brian Schottenheimer to head coach in 2025. McCarthy was the head coach of the Packers when they defeated the Steelers in Super Bowl 45. He has a career record of 174-112-2 and a playoff record of 11-11.